My beloved child, today is not an ordinary day. December 25th carries a weight that heaven does not ignore. While the world calls it Christmas Eve, the spiritual realm calls it a divine crossing point. Archangel Michael is urgently stepping forward because this message is timed, sealed, and meant for you. If you are hearing this right now, it is not by accident. Heaven has been trying to reach your house, your heart, your very doorstep. Listen carefully. There is a reason your spirit felt a pull today. There is a reason you stopped scrolling. There is a reason this message found you instead of thousands of others. Archangel Michael says, the door must be opened quickly. But his coming is not symbolic. It is not imaginary. It is not just a story. A mysterious courier has already been dispatched. The world sees Santa as a myth, a tradition, a harmless story for children. But heaven sees something deeper. Tonight, Santa is not coming as a fantasy figure. He is coming as a carrier, a vessel holding something that did not originate on earth. Jesus himself has sent what is being carried, and the destination is not random. It is your house. Archangel Michael is standing guard over this moment because there is resistance in the atmosphere. There is interference. There are forces that do not want you to open what is meant for you. That is why the warning is strong. That is why the tone is urgent. That is why the message says, open it quickly before it's too late. This is not about fear. This is about timing. Some doors only open once. Some deliveries do not wait. Heaven honors free will, but it also moves according to divine schedules. Archangel Michael says you have been marked for a release that aligns with this very night. December 25th is acting like a spiritual hinge. What was stuck is ready to move. What was delayed is ready to arrive. What was hidden is ready to be revealed. But here is the part many miss. The courier does not knock loudly. It does not force entry. It waits for awareness. It waits for recognition. It waits for consent. That is why this message exists. This message is the knock. You may have felt strange emotions today. Nostalgia, restlessness, a sudden heaviness mixed with hope. You may have thought about your house more than usual, your family, your past, your future. Archangel Michael says these were not random feelings. They were signals. Heaven was aligning your spirit to notice what is arriving. Jesus sent this because he knows what you have been praying silently. The prayers you whispered late at night. The ones you stopped saying out loud because you were tired of waiting. The prayers you thought heaven had forgotten. They were not ignored. They were gathered. What is being carried is connected to your house specifically. Not just the building, but what your house represents. Safety, stability, family, identity, generational patterns. There is something about your living space that heaven wants to touch, cleanse, restore, and mark. Archangel Michael is saying this clearly. This delivery is about authority. For too long, certain things have had access to your space that were never meant to stay. Certain arguments, certain cycle, certain laws, certain fear. Jesus has sent a correction, a divine override, and it arrives under the cover of something familiar so it would not be resisted. But time matters. Here is a narrow window tonight where awareness activates reception. If you miss it, it does not mean you are abandoned. It means the process becomes longer, harder, and heavier. Heaven prefers ease, but it requires agreement. That is why you are being told to open it quickly. Archangel Michael stands with a sword not to threaten you, but to protect what is coming. There are spiritual thieves that try to intercept blessings at the last moment. That is why distractions increase right before breakthroughs. That is why doubt whispers louder when answers are near. Pay attention to what tries to pull you away right now. This message is not meant to scare you. It is meant to wake you. Jesus is not sending punishment. He is sending provision, clarity, and exposure of what had been hiding in plain sight. Some truths about your house, your environment, and even certain people connected to it are about to surface. And when they do, you will understand why this night mattered. Archangel Michael says, "Do not treat this as entertainment. This is an instruction wrapped in a story so your spirit can receive it without resistance." The courier carries something that only activates when it is acknowledged. Right now, simply receiving this message is already opening the door. Your house has been watched. Your tears have been counted. Your patience has been recorded. And tonight, December 25th, heaven says the delivery has arrived. The question is not whether it is coming. The question is whether you are ready to open it. If you feel something stirring in your chest, if your heart feels strangely alert, that is not emotion alone. That is recognition. Archangel Michael is trying to reach you. Jesus sent this, and heaven is waiting for your response. My precious one, what Archangel Michael is revealing now goes deeper than what the eyes can see. The delivery spoken of is not wrapped in paper or tied with a ribbon, yet it carries more weight than anything you have ever received. Tonight is not about nostalgia or tradition. It is about alignment. Heaven is aligning moments, memories, and movements around you, and this alignment is deliberate. Archangel Michael says many people misunderstand divine timing. They think delaying means denial, but heaven works differently. What was held back was protected. What seemed late was being perfected. And what is arriving now could only arrive when your spirit was strong enough to handle it. That is why this message is reaching you now and not years ago. You were not ready then, but you are ready now. There is a reason Jesus chose this date. December 25th carries an echo of promise. It reminds the world of arrival, of God stepping into human space, of heaven entering a house quietly, not with thunder, not with spectacle, but with intention. In the same way, what is being delivered to your house is subtle, yet life-altering. Archangel Michael is showing that the courier represents movement between realms. It represents transition. Something is crossing over into your life that cannot return the same way it came. Once it enters, things begin to shift. Conversations change. Atmospheres change. Even your sleep patterns may change because clarity begins to replace confusion. You may notice sudden thoughts about cleaning, organizing, or rearranging your space. This is not coincidence. This is preparation. Heaven often moves physically before it moves visibly. When Jesus sends something to a house, he prepares the ground so it can remain. That is why some people feel restless today without knowing why. Archangel Michael says there is also exposure tied to this delivery. Something that has been hidden within your environment is about to come into the light. It could be a truth you avoided, a pattern you normalized, or even an influence that overstayed its welcome. This exposure is not meant to shame you. It is meant to free you. Do not be surprised if conversations arise soon that feel uncomfortable but necessary. Do not be alarmed if realizations come quickly, one after another. That is what happens when divine light enters a space. Shadows do not argue. They disappear. Jesus sent this because he wants your house to become a place of peace, not pressure. A place of rest, not resistance. A place where your future feels welcome instead of blocked. Archangel Michael is guarding this process because when houses shift, destinies follow. And now listen closely. There is a choice embedded in this moment. You can acknowledge what is happening, or you can dismiss it as imagination. Heaven will not force belief, but acknowledgement unlocks participation. The moment you say inwardly, "I receive what God is doing," the door opens wider. If this message is touching you, do not keep it to yourself. When you like this video, you are signaling agreement. When you share it, you are extending light to another house that may also be waiting. When you comment, you are anchoring this moment in the physical world. And when you subscribe to this channel, you stay connected to messages that arrive right on time, not late. Archangel Michael says many blessings are interrupted because people disconnect too early. They step away right before clarity comes. That is why staying connected matters. It is not about a platform. It is about positioning yourself where heaven is already speaking. Take a moment to engage. Like this message. Share it with someone who needs hope tonight. Comment what you are feeling or sensing. And if you have not yet subscribed, do it now so you do not miss what unfolds next. There are messages ahead that will make what is happening tonight make even more sense. Something else is important. This is not only about what enters your house. It is about what leaves. Some cycles are ending tonight. Some emotional weights are lifting. Some spiritual contracts that were never meant to continue are being dissolved. You may not see it immediately, but you will feel it. A lightness, a quiet confidence, a sense that you are no longer waiting but moving. Archangel Michael says to guard your thoughts tonight. Do not let doubt speak louder than discernment. Do not let old disappointments rewrite this moment. Jesus does not send empty promises. When he sends something, it carries completion within it. You may even notice signs that confirm this message. As though a memory, a sudden calm. Pay attention. Heaven often confirms quietly. Hold on, because what is being revealed next explains why your house was chosen and why this delivery could not go to anyone else. My chosen one. Now Archangel Michael is revealing why your house was selected and why this delivery could not be redirected, delayed, or canceled. This is not about favoritism. This is about assignment. Every house carries a spiritual record, and yours has been speaking louder than you realize. The walls have heard prayers you forgot you prayed. The floors have absorbed tears you never explained to anyone. Heaven had been listening through the very place you live. Archangel Michael says your house hath been under observation for a long time. Not because of what is wrong with it, but because of what it is meant to host. Some houses are only shelters. Others become altars. Yours is shifting from survival into significance. That is why resistance increased in recent months. That is why peace felt interrupted. That is why simple things felt heavy. When heaven prepares to move into a space more deeply, tension often rises before release. Jesus sent this delivery because something in your lineage needed interruption. There were patterns attached to houses before yours. Cycles of lack, separation, emotional distance, or instability. They did not begin with you, but they were trying to end with you. And endings require authority. That authority is what is arriving. This is why Archangel Michael is present. He governs spiritual boundaries. He enforces what heaven declares. And he is saying clearly that your house is being remarked. What once had permission no longer does. What once lingered without invitation is being escorted out. This includes spiritual heaviness, emotional residue, and even certain relational energies that fed off confusion. Do not be surprised if your discernment sharpens after tonight. You may suddenly see people more clearly. Situations may no longer confuse you. Decisions that once felt overwhelming may become obvious. This is the effect of divine clarity entering a space. Archangel Michael also reveals that the courier carried instructions, not just provision. Instructions about what to keep and what to release. Instructions about where to invest your energy. Instructions about protecting your peace. These instructions will not arrive as a loud voice. They will arrive as conviction, as knowing, as a quiet but firm sense of direction. If you feel emotional right now, do not suppress it. Tears are not weakness, they are recognition. Your spirit knows this moment matters. Jesus never arrives empty-handed. When he sends something, it carries restoration, not confusion. This is also a moment of participation. Heaven has done its part by sending the message. Now your agreement seals it. When you like this video, you are saying, I acknowledge this moment. When you comment, you are giving voice to your agreement. When you share it, you become a courier yourself, helping heaven reach another house that may be waiting without knowing it. And when you subscribe, you stay connected to messages that protect what God is doing, not just announce it. Do not underestimate small actions done with faith. Heaven responds to alignment, not perfection. Archangel Michael says some of you are sensing warmth, pressure, or peace as you listen. That is confirmation. Your house is responding because it recognizes its assignment. What is coming will not bring chaos. It will bring order. It will not bring fear. It will bring stability. Now receive this carefully. Type I receive the mystery in the comments if this message is speaking directly to your spirit. Blessing code 777 has just been released. And now, hear this final instruction flowing naturally from what has just been revealed. This message did not reach you by chance. Light is being poured into houses that have been faithful in silence. When you give through super thanks, membership, or even PayPal, you are not supporting a channel. You are helping this light reach homes that are still sitting in darkness, waiting for a knock. I feel led to tell you this. What you release tonight becomes seed, and that seed carries oil, fire, and open doors into places you may never physically enter. Jesus says, what you sow into my word, I multiply into harvest for many. This is not generosity. This is obedience meeting timing. Do not delay what heaven is prompting now. As you give, may peace settle in your house, may protection surround your doors, and may provision answer you swiftly. Act now. Release the seed, and let God move through it. My dear one, Archangel Michael now turns your attention inward, because what is happening around your house is also happening within you. External movement always mirrors internal change. Jesus never sends something to a place without first preparing the heart that lives there. That is why you may feel unusually reflective tonight. Memory service. Questions arise. Old emotions knock softly, not to hurt you, but to be healed. Archangel Michael says you have been standing at the edge of a transition longer than you realize. You sensed it, but you could not name it. Life felt like it was pausing, as if something invisible was holding its breath. That pause was not punishment. It was positioning. Heaven was aligning details you could not see, conversations you were not part of, protections you were not aware of. The delivery that arrived tonight does not just affect walls and rooms, and touches identity. It speaks to who you are becoming. For a long time, you carried labels that were never meant to stay. Strong one. Responsible one. The one who holds everything together. While these labels look honorable, they quietly exhausted you. Jesus saw that exhaustion. That is why he intervened. Archangel Michael reveals that rest is part of what hath been released. Not sleep alone, but rest of the soul. The kind of rest that comes when you no longer feel you must explain yourself to everyone. The kind of rest that comes when you stop carrying what was never yours. This rest will begin to change how you respond to people, how you handle conflict, and how you see yourself. You may notice that certain triggers lose their power after tonight. Things that once pulled you into overthinking may no longer hook you. That is not because you became numb. It is because clarity replaced confusion. When truth enters, chaos loses its grip. Archangel Michael also speaks of courage. The courage to say no without guilt. The courage to say yes without fear. The courage to move forward even when every detail is not yet visible. Jesus does not reveal everything at once because faith grows in steps, not leaps. But he always reveals enough to take the next step safely. Pay attention to what stirs in you over the next few days. New desires may surface. Old dreams may resurface. These are not random. They are reminders. Heaven is reminding you of who you were before disappointment tried to redefine you. There is also healing taking place in how you see God. Some of you learned faith through fear instead of love. You learned obedience through pressure instead of trust. Jesus is correcting that tonight. He wants your house and your heart to feel safe with him. Safe to ask. Safe to wait. Safe to receive. Archangel Michael says you are not late. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. The pace of your life was slowed intentionally so damage would not follow you into your next season. What is ahead of you requires wholeness, not just strength. You not rush the unfolding. Do not compare your process to someone else's highlight. Heaven custom designed your timing because your calling carries weight. Some blessings require maturity to hold them without losing yourself. As this night continues, you may feel prompted to pray differently. Less begging, more listening, less explaining, more trusting. That shift is evidence that alignment is happening. Jesus is not asking you to perform. He is inviting you to participate. Archangel Michael reminds you that protection is active right now. If something did not work out recently, it was intercepted. If a door closed suddenly, it was mercy. You will understand later why certain paths were blocked. What felt like loss was often prevention. Your house will begin to feel different. Quieter in a good way. Lighter. More grounded. That is not imagination. Atmospheres respond to authority, and authority has been restored. Let this moment settle. You do not need to do anything dramatic. Awareness itself is powerful. Agreement itself is enough. Heaven is already moving. And as the night deepens, there is still more to be revealed. The story is not ending. It is opening. My beloved soul, Archangel Michael now speaks of what begins after the door has been opened, because many people misunderstand this stage. They think the miracle ends when the delivery arrives, but heaven says that is only the beginning. What arrived tonight carries momentum. It sets things in motion that continue unfolding long after the moment passes. This is why this night will echo in the days ahead. You may wake up tomorrow feeling different without knowing why. Not dramatically changed, but subtly shifted. Your thoughts may feel quieter. Your reaction slower. Your inner voice steadier. That is because alignment has a sound, and when it settles, chaos no longer dominates the mind. Jesus does not overwhelm. He stabilizes. Archangel Michael reveals that one of the greatest gifts released tonight is discernment. For a long time, you questioned yourself. You second-guessed your instincts. You wondered if you were too sensitive or too cautious. An internal conflict did not come from weakness. It came from carrying too many voices. Now, clarity is separating what is yours from what never belonged to you. As this separation continues, you may feel less drawn to certain conversations, environments, or habits. You not force yourself to maintain what no longer fits. Growth often feels like loss at first, but it is actually refinement. Heaven is not removing joy, it is removing noise. Jesus sent this delivery because the next phase of your life requires precision. Not perfection, but precision. Choices will matter more. Timing will matter more. Boundaries will matter more. And this is not meant to burden you. It is meant to protect you. Archangel Michael says you are stepping into a season where small decisions carry big impact. Who you listen to, where you invest your time, what you tolerate. These things shape atmosphere, and atmosphere shapes outcomes. The good news is that you are not walking into this blind. Heaven has equipped you. There is also a healing happening in how you view the past. Some memories have held too much power over you. They shape how you expected things to end. But tonight, Jesus is writing the conclusion you assumed was final. The past no longer gets to predict the future. Experience can inform wisdom, but it does not control destiny. You may notice forgiveness becoming easier. Not because what happened was acceptable, but because it no longer defines you. Forgiveness is not agreement, it is release. And release creates space. That space is now being filled with peace. Archangel Michael also speaks of confidence returning, not the loud kind, but the grounded kind. The kind that does not need validation. The kind that does not rush to prove anything. This confidence will change how people respond to you. Some will respect you more. Some may distance themselves. Both are signs that alignment is working. You not fear the shifting of relationships. When you grow, connections either adjust or fall away. Heaven is not isolating you. It is positioning you among those who can meet you where you are going, not where you have been. Jesus reminds you that obedience is not always dramatic. Sometimes it looks like resting when you used to strive. Sometimes it looks like waiting when you used to force. Sometimes it looks like speaking up when you used to stay silent. Listen closely to what feels peaceful, not pressured. That is where heaven is leading. There may be moments ahead where doubt tries to revisit you. Old questions may resurface, asking if this was real or imagined. When that happens, look at the fruit. Look at the peace. Look at the clarity. Heaven does not produce confusion. Archangel Michael says protection remains active, but wisdom must partner with it. Do not reopen doors you prayed to be closed. Do not re-enter cycles you asked to escape. Growth requires consistency. Your house is now a place of recalibration. You may feel drawn to pray differently, to speak differently, even to think differently within those walls. That is because the atmosphere has changed. What you declare there carries weight. Remember this: you do not have to convince anyone of what God is doing in your life. Evidence will speak louder than explanation. Let the transformation be seen over time. This season will teach you patience without passivity and faith without anxiety. It will show you that waiting does not mean stagnation. It means preparation. Archangel Michael stands watch as this process unfolds, ensuring that what was released is not stolen. Jesus remains present, not distant. And heaven continues to move, quietly, faithfully, precisely. There is more ahead, and it will unfold at the right pace. For now, rest in what has begun. The door has been opened, and what entered is here to stay. My faithful one, Archangel Michael now speaks about protection and participation, because what has begun must also be stewarded. Heaven releases, but humans are invited to walk alongside what is released. This is where many people lose momentum, not because God withdraws, but because awareness fades. Tonight marks an opening, but tomorrow marks continuation. You are entering a phase where discernment must be practiced daily, not occasionally. Jesus did not send this delivery just to comfort you for a moment. He sent it to establish a new way of living, a quieter strength, a deeper trust, a more intentional pace. The noise around you may increase, not decrease, because clarity often attracts distraction. Do not be alarmed by this. It is a sign that alignment is active. Archangel Michael says you will notice invitations that look good on the surface, but feel wrong in your spirit. This is where wisdom must override people-pleasing. Not every open door is God's door. Some are tests to see if you will trade peace for approval. You no longer need to explain your no. Peace is reason enough. There will also be moments where obedience feels small but carries great weight. A phone call you feel prompted to make. A conversation you feel led to avoid. A habit you sense needs to end. These are not random nudges. They are part of the protection system heaven has activated around you. Jesus is teaching you to move from reaction to response. Reaction is driven by emotion. Response is guided by clarity. When you respond instead of react, you conserve energy. You protect your heart. You remain grounded even when circumstances feel uncertain. Archangel Michael reveals that some battles you used to fight will no longer require your involvement. You will feel less triggered, less provoked, less drawn into unnecessary conflict. This is not avoidance. This is maturity. Not every fight deserves your attention. Some resolve themselves when you stop feeding them. Pay attention to your body as well. Tension you carried unknowingly may begin to release. Shoulders relax. Breathing deepens. Sleep improves. These are signs that safety hath been restored at a deeper level. Jesus cares about your wholeness, not just your spirituality. And I'll hear this carefully. Heaven often confirms direction through repetition. You may hear the same message through different sources. A phrase repeats. A theme surfaces. This is not coincidence. This is confirmation. When that happens, lean in. Write it down if needed. Treat it as instruction, not inspiration alone. This is also a season where gratitude becomes a weapon. Not forced positivity, but honest acknowledgement. When you name what has shifted, you anchor it. When you thank God for clarity, you multiply it. Gratitude protects against fear because it reminds you that God has already moved. If this message is helping you stay grounded, do not keep it hidden. Take a moment to like this video so others can find it when they need it. Share it with someone who feels overwhelmed or uncertain right now. Leave a comment to mark this moment for yourself. And if you are not yet subscribed, subscribe so you stay connected to messages that arrive with precision and purpose. Hold on, because what comes next explains why certain doors are about to open unexpectedly, and why some opportunities will feel almost effortless compared to what you endured before. Archangel Michael says ease does not mean lack of effort. It means alignment. When you move with heaven instead of against old patterns, resistance decreases. This does not mean challenges disappear. It means you are no longer drained by them. You may find yourself saying, "This would have broken me before," and realizing it no longer does. That is growth. That is evidence that something real has changed. Jesus is also restoring joy in simple things. Laughter without guilt, rest without anxiety, presence without distraction. These are not luxuries. They are signs of healing. Do not rush ahead mentally. Stay present. The future will unfold, but it does not need to be chased. Heaven is already ahead of you, preparing what you cannot yet see. Archangel Michael remains on watch, ensuring that what has been released is guarded. You are not alone in this process. You are accompanied, guided, and protected. Stay attentive. Stay open. Stay grounded. What is unfolding now will soon make sense in ways that surprise you. My dear child, Archangel Michael now draws your attention to the unseen recalibration happening around your future, because what has been protected must also be redirected. Many people think alignment only repairs the past, but heaven is far more concerned with where you are going. Jesus does not merely heal wounds, he repositions destiny. That is what is quietly unfolding now. You may notice that your imagination is changing. The way you think about tomorrow feels different. Where you once anticipated struggle, you may now sense possibility. Where you once planned defensively, you may now feel open. This is not optimism born from denial. This is hope returning to its rightful place. Hope is not fragile when it is rooted in truth. Archangel Michael says something important has shifted in how you perceive risk. Before, you avoided certain steps because loss felt inevitable. Now, even though you may still feel cautious, fear no longer dominates the decision-making process. This does not mean you will act impulsively. It means you will act with faith-informed courage. Jesus is restoring trust, not only in him, but in yourself. For a long time, you doubted your ability to discern, choose, and endure. You replayed moments where things did not work out and quietly blamed yourself. That self-doubt became a silent companion. Tonight, its voice is being challenged. You are realizing that survival itself was proof of wisdom, not failure. Archangel Michael reveals that some delays you experienced were actually reroutes, and certain doors opened earlier. They would have taken you somewhere your spirit could not thrive. You were spared paths that looked promising but lacked sustainability. This is why your journey has felt unique, even isolating at times. Heaven was guarding your trajectory. As this understanding settles, resentment begins to loosen its grip. You may feel less bitterness toward time, people, or missed opportunities. Not because everything makes sense yet, but because you trust that nothing was wasted. Even pain was used as preparation. There is also a strengthening happening in your voice. You may feel more comfortable expressing your needs, your boundaries, and your truth. Silence that once came from fear is being replaced with quiet confidence. You will not need to over-explain. What is meant to understand you will recognize you. Archangel Michael says be mindful of moments when you feel tempted to shrink back into old versions of yourself. Familiar roles may try to reclaim you. Expectations from others may resurface. When that happens, pause. Ask yourself if that version aligns with who you are becoming. Growth sometimes requires disappointing people who preferred you smaller. Jesus is not calling you to rebellion, but to authenticity. Obedience to God sometimes looks like disappointing others so you can remain faithful to what He is doing within you. Peace is the compass. If something consistently steals it, reevaluate its place in your life. You may also sense a renewed sensitivity to beauty. Music may move you more deeply. Nature may feel more grounding. Simple moments may feel sacred. This is not distraction. It is restoration. When the soul heals, it remembers how to feel joy without guilt. Archangel Michael speaks of divine partnerships forming quietly. These are not necessarily romantic, though they could be. They may be friendships, collaborations, or mentors that align with your values and timing. You will recognize them by how safe and seen you feel, not by how impressive they appear. Do not rush these connections. Let trust build naturally. Heaven values foundation over speed. What is rushed often requires repair later. What is built with patience tends to endure. Jesus is also teaching you discernment regarding your energy. You will become more aware of when to engage and when to rest. Burnout will no longer be your default. You are learning that saying yes to everything is not faith. It is avoidance. Faith listens before it leaps. As you move forward, there will be moments of testing, not to trip you, but to confirm what has changed. Situations may arise that once would have pulled you into old reactions. This time, you will notice yourself responding differently. A difference is evidence. That is growth made visible. Archangel Michael assures you that heaven is not impatient with your process. Progress does not need to be loud to be real. Quiet consistency is often more powerful than dramatic bursts. Stay steady. Stay honest. Stay connected. The unfolding ahead will not mirror anyone else's journey. Comparison will only distort clarity. You are walking a path designed specifically for your calling, your temperament, and your capacity. Trust that design. As this message settles, know that you are not merely recovering. You are being refined. Not diminished, not delayed, not denied. Prepared. And as night gives way to what comes next, the story continues to open, layer by layer, exactly as it should. My precious one, Archangel Michael now steps closer, because this stage is about sealing what has been unfolding. Many people receive revelation, but not everyone allows it to settle deeply enough to transform daily life. Heaven does not rush this moment. What is being sealed now determines how long the peace lasts and how far the breakthrough extends. You may notice a growing sensitivity to what disturbs your spirit. Things you once tolerated may now feel heavy or misaligned. This is not judgment. This is awareness. Jesus is refining your inner compass so you no longer rely on external validation to know when something is wrong. Your spirit is learning to recognize truth quickly. Archangel Michael says this sealing process involves your words. Pay attention to how you speak about yourself, your future, and your house. Words are not harmless. They shape atmosphere. What you repeatedly declare becomes agreement. Heaven is inviting you to speak in alignment with what has been released, not with what used to be. If you catch yourself returning to old narratives, pause and redirect. Not with denial, but with truth. You are not behind. You are not unlucky. You are not always struggling. Those statements belong to a season that is closing. Speak as someone who expects God to be faithful, because He hath been. There is also a shift happening in how you handle uncertainty. Before, not knowing felt threatening. Now, it feels open. This is because trust is replacing control. Control exhausts the soul. Trust strengthens it. Jesus does not need you to manage outcomes. He asks you to remain aligned. Archangel Michael reveals that some blessings are already in motion, but have not yet appeared. Do not interpret silence as an activity. Roots grow underground before anything breaks the surface. What is forming now will emerge at the right time, strong and sustainable. You may feel prompted to simplify certain areas of your life. Fewer commitments. Clear priorities. This is not loss. This is focus. Heaven often subtracts to protect momentum. When your energy is scattered, progress slows. When your focus sharpens, grace accelerates. As this alignment deepens, gratitude becomes more natural. Not because everything is perfect, but because you can see God's hand more clearly. Gratitude keeps the heart soft. A soft heart receives more easily. If this message continues to resonate, do not walk through it silently. Like this video so it reaches others who need reassurance tonight. Share it with someone who feels uncertain about what God is doing. Leave a comment to anchor your agreement. And if you have not yet subscribed, subscribe now so you remain connected to messages that help you steward what God releases. Wait here with me for a moment, because this sealing comes with a confirmation ritual that locks in what has been spoken. Type "I am sealed in peace" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1122 is now activated. Now, let this transition flow naturally into what heaven is inviting next. What God is doing through this message is larger than one house. Light travels. When you give through super thanks, membership, or PayPal, you become part of a living river that carries God's word into homes that are still waiting for clarity. I hear the Spirit saying, as you sow, I open heavens over places you may never see. This is not charity. This is participation in a divine assignment. Your giving becomes seed, and that seed releases provision, peace, and awakening in others. Do not delay obedience when your spirit feels the pull. I speak blessing over every giver now. May your house be covered, may your resources multiply, and may joy follow you. Act now. Release the seed and let God move through it. As this part closes, know that the seal is set. What hath been aligned will remain aligned as long as you walk in awareness. Heaven is not withdrawing. It is establishing. And there is still more to be revealed. My beloved one, Archangel Michael now speaks of endurance, because after sealing comes strengthening. This is the phase where what hath been established is tested by ordinary days. Not dramatic opposition, not visible resistance, but routine. Heaven knows that destiny is not lost in storms alone. It is often challenged in monotony. That is why this message is reaching you again, to steady you for what follows. You may notice that life begins to look normal again on the surface. Responsibilities return. Conversations continue. Schedules resume. Do not mistake normalcy for stagnation. This is where transformation proves itself. True change does not need constant intensity to survive. It integrates into everyday life and quietly reshapes it. Archangel Michael says you are learning how to carry peace without guarding it anxiously. Before, when things felt calm, you waited for disruption. You braced yourself. You stayed alert for disappointment. That vigilance once protected you, but now it exhausts you. Jesus is teaching you that peace does not need to be defended constantly. It is sustained through trust, not tension. There may be moments when old thoughts attempt to resurface, asking if this alignment will last. When that happens, ground yourself in what has already changed. Look at how you respond now versus before. Notice the pause between trigger and reaction. That pause is evidence. That pause is growth. Archangel Michael also reveals that patience is being refined in you. Not passive waiting, but active steadiness. You are learning how to remain faithful without immediate feedback. This kind of patience matures the soul. It prepares you to hold greater responsibility without losing balance. Jesus often works quietly during these phases. You may not feel constant reassurance, but that does not mean absence. It means trust is being exercised. Like muscles, faith strengthens when it is used, not when it is constantly soothed. Be attentive to subtle invitations in this season. Small opportunities may arise that align with your values more than your ambitions. Choose alignment over appearance. What looks impressive but drains you is not from God. What feels grounded and sustainable often is. Archangel Michael says discernment will now express itself through peace, not urgency. If something pressures you to decide quickly without clarity, pause. Heaven does not rush you into confusion. God's timing may feel prompt, but it never feels panicked. You may also experience a redefinition of success. Goals that once drove you may lose their hold. New measures emerge: restfulness, integrity, consistency, presence. This is not settling. This is maturity. Success that costs you your peace is too expensive. There may be moments where you grieve versions of yourself you are leaving behind. Even unhealthy patterns can feel familiar. Allow that grief without returning to what you outgrew. Growth always involves letting go of identities that once kept you safe. Archangel Michael reminds you that obedience does not always feel rewarding immediately. Sometimes it feels quiet, but quiet obedience builds strong foundations. Foundations are not celebrated, yet everything rests on them. Your house continues to respond to this alignment. The atmosphere you carry into it now shapes those within it. Even without words, peace communicates. Stability influences. Healing spreads naturally when it is genuine. Jesus is also softening how you judge your own progress. You no longer need to measure every step. Forward motion does not need constant evaluation. Trust the process you are in. Trust the God who initiated it. There may be days ahead where nothing seems to happen. These are not wasted days. They are integration days. What was revealed, sealed, and strengthened must settle into your nervous system, your habits, your thinking. Transformation is not only spiritual, it is embodied. Archangel Michael assures you that nothing released has been revoked. Heaven does not tease. God does not experiment with your heart. What has begun is intentional and sustained. If you find yourself tempted to return to striving, pause and breathe. Ask yourself if effort is coming from fear or faith. Faith-led action feels grounded even when it is challenging. Fear-driven action feels frantic even when it succeeds. You are not meant to prove anything in this season. You are meant to become consistent. Consistency outlasts intensity. It builds trust within yourself and with God. As this strengthening continues, you will notice resilience replacing fragility. You may still feel emotions deeply, but they will no longer destabilize you. Depth without collapse is a sign of healing. Archangel Michael stands witness to this quiet fortification. Jesus remains attentive, not distant. Heaven is not waiting for you to fail. It is watching you grow. Let this part settle gently. You do not need to rush ahead. What is next will come at the right time, with clarity, not confusion. The path remains open. The foundation is firm. And what lies ahead will meet you prepared, just as you are being prepared now. My steadfast one, Archangel Michael now speaks into the rhythm of your days, because what heaven establishes must live in real time, not just sacred moments. This part of the journey is about movement with awareness. Not rushing, not freezing, but walking forward with a grounded spirit. Jesus is not calling you to retreat from life. He is teaching you how to live within it without losing yourself again. You may notice that your tolerance for unnecessary pressure is lower now. Situations that once felt normal may now feel draining. This is not weakness. This is wisdom developing. When alignment deepens, the soul becomes less willing to live in constant urgency. You are learning that peace is not something to earn after everything is done. It is something to carry while things are still unfinished. Archangel Michael says you are stepping into a phase where responsibility increases, but burden decreases. This may sound contradictory, but it is not. When you carry responsibility with clarity, it no longer crushes you. You will still show up. You will still be dependable. But you will no longer confuse responsibility with self-sacrifice. Jesus is also recalibrating your sense of time. You may feel less pressured by deadlines that once controlled you. This does not mean you become careless. It means you are no longer ruled by anxiety. You begin to trust that what matters will be accomplished without destroying your peace in the process. There may be moments where others do not understand this change in you. They may interpret your calm as distance, or your boundaries as disinterest. Do not rush to explain yourself. Alignment does not need permission from misunderstanding. Those who are meant to walk with you will adjust. Those who cannot may drift. Both outcomes are part of order being restored. Archangel Michael reminds you that not every season requires the same level of output. Some seasons are for building. Some are for maintaining. Some are for resting. Wisdom lies in discerning which season you are in, not forcing productivity out of fear. You are also learning how to listen before responding. Silence no longer feels awkward. It feels protective. You are discovering that you do not owe immediate reactions. Space between stimulus and response is where freedom lives. Jesus is strengthening your inner witness, that quiet knowing that guides you without panic. You may not always have full clarity, but you will have enough peace to take the next step. That is how heaven often leads. This is also a time to stay connected. Messages like this are not meant to be consumed once and forgotten. They are meant to reinforce awareness. If this word is anchoring you, take a moment to like this video so it can reach others who are also navigating quiet transitions. Share it with someone who feels overwhelmed but cannot explain why. Leave a comment to mark this moment for yourself. And if you have not subscribed yet, subscribe so you remain connected to messages that arrive with precision and grounding. Hold on right here, because what follows explains why consistency matters more now than ever, and why the smallest shifts you make in this season will have the longest impact. Archangel Michael says this is where many people drift, not backward, but sideways. They stay busy but lose focus. Heaven is inviting you to remain intentional. Ask yourself regularly if your actions align with your peace. If they do not, adjust gently, not harshly. Jesus does not correct with condemnation. He guides with clarity. When something feels off, it is not an accusation. It is an invitation to realign. You may also notice a change in how you pray. Less talking, more listening, less urgency, more trust. This is not spiritual decline. It is spiritual maturity. Prayer becomes conversation rather than negotiation. Archangel Michael speaks of quiet authority settling on you. You do not need to announce it. Others will feel it. Your presence will feel steadier. Your words will carry weight without force. This authority does not dominate. It stabilizes. There will be opportunities ahead that test your boundaries. Offers that look appealing but compromise your peace. Requests that appeal to your compassion but stretch you beyond your capacity. You are allowed to say no without guilt. Stewardship includes protecting your energy. Jesus is not asking you to withdraw from people. He is teaching you how to remain present without absorbing everything. Compassion does not require self-erasure. You may find joy returning in ordinary moments, simple routines, quiet mornings, unplanned laughter. These are not distractions from purpose. They are signs that your nervous system is healing. Joy without chaos is a gift, Archangel Michael assures you that heaven is pleased with consistency, not performance. You do not need to impress God. You need to stay honest. Honesty keeps alignment intact. If there are days when motivation dips, do not panic. Motivation fluctuates. Commitment carries you through. Show up gently. Progress does not require intensity every day. Jesus remains attentive to the details of your life. Nothing you do in faith is unseen. Even the quiet obedience of rest is honored. As this part settles, remember this: you are not waiting for life to begin. It has already begun, just in a healthier form. Stay present. Stay grounded. Stay connected. What comes next will build on this steadiness, not disrupt it. My beloved child, Archangel Michael now speaks with a tone of reassurance, because what approaches next often brings mixed emotions. When life begins to stabilize, the soul sometimes wonders what comes after survival. You have spent so long bracing, enduring, and holding on that peace itself can feel unfamiliar. Heaven understands this adjustment, and it is walking with you through it gently. You may notice moments where you feel calm and then suddenly uneasy, as if you are waiting for something to go wrong. This is not intuition. It is memory. Your nervous system learned to stay alert because it had to. Jesus is now teaching it that safety is no longer temporary. It takes time. Be patient with yourself. Healing does not rush the body, it reassures it. Archangel Michael says this phase is about integration. Everything that has been revealed, sealed, strengthened, and stabilized must now become embodied. Not just believe it, but live. This is where transformation becomes visible, not in dramatic events, but in consistent behavior. How you speak when tired. How you choose when unsure. How you respond when disappointed. You may notice that you are less interested in extremes, less drawn to emotional highs and lows, less attracted to chaos disguised as passion. This is not boredom. This is balance. Balance allows longevity. Heaven is preparing you for something that requires steadiness, not intensity. Jesus is also restoring your relationship with joy. Not excitement that burns out quickly, but contentment that remains even when nothing special is happening. Joy no longer needs an event to justify itself. And if this, they go to peace of this. There may be invitations ahead that look similar to old cycles. Familiar faces. Familiar opportunities. Familiar dynamics. This is not a trap. It is a test of awareness. You will recognize quickly whether something aligns with who you are now or who you used to be. Choose accordingly, without guilt or regret. Archangel Michael reminds you that discernment is not suspicion. You do not need to distrust everything. You simply need to stay present with yourself. When something feels heavy consistently, pay attention. When something feels grounded and life-giving, honor it. You are also learning how to hold space for others without losing yourself. Compassion no longer means self-neglect. Empathy no longer requires absorption. You can care without carrying. This is a skill learned through healing, not effort. Jesus is pleased with the way you have walked through uncertainty without becoming bitter. Even when you questioned, you did not close your heart. That openness is what allowed alignment to happen. Guard it gently, not fearfully. There may be moments where you look back and feel grief for the time spent struggling. Allow that grief to pass through without anchoring there. You did not waste time. You were being formed. What you carry now cannot be taught quickly. Depth takes time. Archangel Michael says your future will not require you to relive your past to be effective. Your testimony will be lived, not explained. Others will sense your steadiness and ask what changed. You will not need rehearsed answers. Your life will speak. This is also a season of quiet confidence. You no longer need constant reassurance. You no longer need signs for every step. You trust enough to move, pause, and wait as needed. That trust did not come easily. It was earned through experience and grace. Jesus continues to walk closely, even when you do not feel him intensely. Presence does not always announce itself. Sometimes it simply holds. You may feel drawn to protect your peace more intentionally now. This is not selfishness. This is stewardship. What God has restored is valuable. Protecting it honors the work that was done. Archangel Michael assures you that nothing ahead will require you to become someone you are not. Your oath will ask you to be more fully yourself, not less. Authenticity is not a risk anymore. It is a foundation. If you find yourself tempted to rush the future, remind yourself that clarity arrived when you slowed down. The same God who met you here will meet you there. You do not need to chase what is already aligned. There will be joy ahead. There will be challenges too. But they will not define you the way they once did. You are no longer navigating from survival. You are navigating from stability. As this part comes to rest, let this truth settle gently. You are safe to continue. Safe to hope. Safe to plan. Safe to rest. Heaven is not withdrawing its hand. What remains is one final unfolding, one final sealing of purpose and direction that brings everything together. And when it comes, it will feel less like surprise and more like recognition. My beloved and chosen one, Archangel Michael now speaks with finality and fulfillment, because this is the moment where everything converges. What began as an urgent knock has now become a settled truth. This is not an ending of the message. It is the activation of what the message was preparing you for. Heaven does not close doors without opening purpose. What you are standing in now is confirmation. You may notice that your spirit feels steady in a way that does not depend on circumstances. That steadiness is not emotional numbness. It is rooted assurance. Jesus has been restoring your foundation piece by piece, and now that foundation is strong enough to hold what comes next. You are no longer asking, "Will I survive this?" You are beginning to ask, "How do I steward this well?" Archangel Michael says this is the mark of transition from preservation to purpose. Preservation kept you alive. Purpose now gives direction to your life. You were protected so you could be positioned. Nothing you endured was random. Nothing you lost was meaningless. Every delay carved out capacity. Every disappointment refined discernment. Now comes clarity about calling, not necessarily as a title or role, but as a way of being. You are becoming someone who carries peace into rooms. Someone who stabilizes atmospheres. Someone whose presence reassures rather than agitates. This is not accidental. It is assignment. Jesus is not rushing you into visibility. He is anchoring you in authenticity. What will flow from your life must come from overflow, not obligation. That is why this process took time. That is why it went deep. You may sense a quiet boldness rising now. Not loud confidence, but unshakable resolve. You know what you will no longer tolerate. You know what you are willing to wait for. You know when to move and when to pause. This knowing is not pride. It is alignment. Archangel Michael assures you that the protection spoken of earlier remains active. You are not stepping into the future exposed. You are stepping forward covered. Covered in wisdom. Covered in clarity. Covered in favor that does not draw unnecessary attention, but brings lasting fruit. There may be moments ahead where you feel called to lead, support, or encourage others through similar transitions. You will do this naturally, without forcing. Your story will resonate because it is lived, not rehearsed. Others will recognize safety in you because you found safety in God. Jesus reminds you that obedience now will look different than before. It will be quieter, more relational, more internal, less about proving faith and more about practicing it. You will know when to speak and when silence carries more authority. As this chapter settles, take inventory of what has changed. Not externally first, but internally. The way you breathe, the way you pause, the way you choose. These are the real miracles. External blessings follow internal order. Archangel Michael says heaven is pleased with how you stayed open even when clarity was delayed. That openness is what allowed alignment to happen. Guard it, but do not harden it. Soft strength is one of your greatest gifts. Now receive this final ritual, not as performance, but as sealing. Type "I am chosen" and covered in the comments if you receive this message fully. Blessing code 4441 has now been released. And now, as this divine instruction settles, hear this final invitation flowing naturally from everything that has been spoken. This word was not released for entertainment. It was released for transformation. When you support this mission through super thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are placing oil on the flame that carries God's voice into houses that are still waiting for clarity. I hear the Spirit saying, "What you place in my hands, I multiply beyond your sight." This is a prophetic act, not a donation. Your giving becomes a bridge between heaven and hearts that may never hear this message otherwise. I speak blessing over every seed sown. May your house remain covered, may your steps be ordered, and may provision meet you without stress. Do not hesitate. Obey the nudge. Release the seed now and watch God move. My beloved, the message has reached its fulfillment, but the work has just begun. Not with striving, not with fear, but with confidence anchored in God. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. Archangel Michael stands guard. Jesus walks ahead, and your path is clear. Go forward in peace,